Welcome to the very first inaugural episode of Rooted in Movement, the podcast. I am so excited to be here and to finally have a platform to share my thoughts, my ideas, and my philosophies around human movement and health and the disciplines of physical rehabilitation and strength conditioning, really everything that fits into the health and fitness scene. And what better way to kick off this series of beautiful, meaningful, valuable podcast episodes than with a little insight into the crazy place that is my brain. I know it's fascinating at times, but then also sometimes it's quite scary. So here is a little insight with my movement manifesto. So anyone who told you that achieving your goals, improving your movement, getting out of pain, or enhancing your performance is easy, well, they just aren't doing it right. Accomplishing anything worthwhile requires effort, it requires discipline, and it requires integrity. There is simplicity in reconnecting back to our bodies and then listening to our intuition and discovering our feelings. It's because in that space, we can truly hear what our bodies need and what our bodies crave. We can simply feel into, does this feel right for me? Am I moving towards and making progress in a direction that is right for me? Why does something feel off? Why am I experiencing pain? Why do I feel run down, tight, or short tempered and immobile? We need to be more curious about those questions because often we really just dismiss them because they're challenging, right? Or they don't feel quote unquote normal to us. And our body in this moment is inviting us with curiosity. And what we typically do is react by pushing it away and abandoning those thoughts and feelings. And sometimes that's exactly what we need to do to protect ourselves, like initially after an injury or some type of other traumatic experience, like it's needed in that moment. But masking our feelings it's a defense mechanism. It's not a long-term strategy for success or for vitality. This is something that we have to learn over time. We learn to be reactive due to our past conditioning, maybe due to coddling or old models of conditioning surrounding the idea of pain and discomfort and what that really means to us. We learn to run away from our pain or to freeze and not take any action. Those are survival strategies that we learn to protect ourselves from being hurt, continuing to hurt, or to even cover up our pain. And guess what? They worked, but they don't work in the long term. They don't work to create beautiful human movement experiences. That's why everyone can learn to move better. It's a skill set. It isn't reserved for the genetically privileged. Us genetic trash cans can also benefit from it. And I have been one of those genetic trash cans. I guess I still am technically. I grew up in a really prolific baseball family that was, they were just really skilled, right? So my father was a collegiate left-handed pitcher. My brother was a very talented right-handed pitcher. My grandfather was actually drafted by the Pirates back in the 60s. And I thought I had this in my blood, but clearly I did not because I got hurt every single year because I was just trying so hard to be like the rest of the members of my family. But what I realized in that moment, once I got to high school and discovered human movement and coaching and weight training and resistance training, is that I was a much better coach and athlete and a much better provider than a player. But that is definitely a story for another time. So barreling forward here, us genetic trash cans, we can still become pretty talented movers and athletes if we set our mind to it, right? We can literally set our minds and priorities to learn anything else. But when it comes to movement, we tend to chalk this up to genetics. We chalk it up to a lack of coordination, to unathletic parents, or to being injury prone, which I surely resonated with as well. And there's nothing that we fail at more than authentic movement. Injury rates are still on the rise. The incidence and prevalence of low back pain is sky high. And we are no better at reducing the likelihood of ACL tears than we were 20 years ago, right? So what are we really doing here? We aren't taking the time to think more critically, to practice, and to learn how to be better. We are staying stuck in these old dogmatic ways of moving. And when presented with pain, we try to shut it down rather than actually learn to understand it and learn from it. I think it's pretty messed up that we stopped being athletic after high school or college, that somehow we reached the age of 30. I know you've all have probably resonated or heard about somebody who says that they hit the age of 30 and the wheels fall off the wagon, right? Well, that the majority of kids these days too, they prefer sitting in front of screens than playing outside. And this is a problem that we can't really ignore, right? We are de-evolving our movement systems. We are just expected to have figured it out. And I'm fascinated by this thought that somehow our bodies have adapted away from the need for a variety of movement. And now, if you think about it, movement is kind of like the scene from Harry Potter. It's like it's sorting. It's like that sorting hat from Harry Potter, right? Movement is figuring out what you're good at doing and really what you suck at, like I did about baseball. What you suck at usually shows up in the form of pain or injury. And that's why we are supposed to move more and keep moving to acquire more information about how our own unique body is built to move, what our weaknesses are, and what are the holes in our movement literacy. Clients tell me all the time that they want to get rid of their pain and forget about it as quickly as possible. But when you do that, you negate and forget about the valuable lessons learned from those experiences and the wisdom you can gain from it. Pain and discomfort are really, they're just information. How could you ever adapt and evolve as an athlete, as a professional, as a lover, as a human being without actually listening to the information your body is telling you and taking it into consideration in order to execute change? How many of us can actually do an accurate audit of ourselves, of our movement patterns, why we feel the way we do? When was the last time you actually sat down and asked yourself, how do I contribute to this outcome, this pain experience, or this injury? What was I doing or did I do that led me to this very spot I'm in now? Folks, that's called reflection. That's called introspection. And that's where the growth occurs. All right. So I've got a question for you. And it's a question that I get all the time. And it's, how do you reduce the likelihood of injury? How do you put out the fire of chronic pain? And maybe the most difficult part to that question is to ask yourself, how do I keep getting in my own way? What are the conscious or subconscious roadblocks that you've put into place that keep you running into these walls? If you can sit with those questions and hold yourself to the truth, you are then open and willing to look at yourself. You're then ready to make a change. And that's the gift of responsibility. If you're going to continue moving to exercise, banging weights in the gym, hiking, going to yoga classes, boxing, maybe even playing some pickup games of basketball or soccer, you're going to need to take responsibility for literally every choice you make and how you are showing up each day. Are you going to be the victim, or are you going to be the warrior and the creator? You have the choice. You don't get to blame others, other providers, your genetics, your family, your life circumstances. You need to take responsibility. You have to take responsibility for your actions, what you allow in and out of your environment, and how you choose to move or not move your body through this life. This is where you gain power and become powerful. This is where we truly as humans really struggle, right? This is where we really have a hard time bridging the gap, me as a provider, as my colleagues as providers, and you as clients, as patients, as movers, as athletes. We go from learning information through books, articles, podcasts like the one you're listening to right now, and different workshops that we attend. In those experiences, you discover little nuggets and pearls of wisdom. Shit resonates with you. You've been there, but how many of you actually take action? I've been to plenty of continuing education courses in my life and my career, and all the information sounds great, but then I fail to take action afterwards. And you don't actually take action in your life. There's this translation over, right? If you really sit and think about it, that's a really interesting conundrum between our rehabilitation space, our medical system, and working with human beings for that matter. We don't really listen to the information, just so we don't listen to our bodies, because we never take any action on it. We wait until something catastrophic happens, like an injury, or we wait until we can't bear the pain any longer. We wait until we have to change something about how we are moving instead of actually choosing to change something in the moment. There's a huge difference there, and that's autonomy. One circumstance involves a reaction, the other involves a response. And there's one of my favorite books that I try to read every single year, and it's called A Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And in that book, he describes the difference between reaction and response. And that difference between reaction and response is space. He states that between every stimulus and response lies space, and in that space lies a choice. Those choices then impact our trajectory in life and who we become. Do you want to be a reactionary your whole life, masking pain and accumulating these quick fixes for your underlying movement problems? Or do you want to choose to respond by creating space after a stimulus and using that space to understand what your body is telling you in order to make a logical and rational decision to move forward? This is the most empowering thing that you can do in your life because your life changes because you choose it to do so. You don't want to fix your knee pain. You choose to attack it. It's a mindset shift. It's a perspective shift. It's a different lens you view life through. What is your body telling you and what are you avoiding? What hard choices are you avoiding? Maybe you do need to take a step back from maybe you need to take a step back to in order to get a running start, right? You hear this phrase all the time. Maybe you need to stop your 6 days a week of CrossFit classes. Maybe you need to do more than just running. What things are you avoiding that you know to be true in order to get yourself out of the rut that you're currently stuck in? When you connect more intimately with yourself, you already know the answer. You already have the feelings inside of you. That's the best part. They poke at you every day. Sometimes they even wake you up at night. Stop ignoring them. Stop pushing them down and pushing them away. We don't need to repress them any longer. Don't wait until you break yourself to listen to the signals and do something about it. Many of us are really just 1 or 2 reps away from having to react. Instead, slow down, breathe, slow down, and reconnect back to your body. It's not just a meat vessel that moves you from point A to point B. You can't just continue to replace the parts until you're ready to trade in for a new model like your car. It's time to reclaim yourself. Moving through life, we are either contracting or we're expanding. Choose expansion. Don't lock yourself in a movement prison. Don't rely on others to make decisions for you about your body. You are the owner and the CEO of your health. You don't need external validation in the form of likes on the gram or approval from friends and family. What kind of movement makes you feel good? What kind of movement makes your body feel good in the moment? What kind of movement gives you energy? What kind of movement makes you feel like a more useful human? Take some time and think critically about those questions. If your current movement practice feels obligatory for really whatever reason, if it makes you feel depleted, burnt out, or dealing with repetitive pain and injury, guess what? It may not be the right movement practice for you right now, and that's okay. So, if you're in pain, how do you currently escape your pain? Right? When it comes to movement related pain, neuromuscular skeletal pain, we all want nothing more than for it to just go away. We numb it out with drugs, wall it up to with braces and supports, and try to drive it away with rollers and cuffs and needles and cracks and wax. And all these things are utilized in an attempt to experience fleeting relief, but it's just that it's fleeting. But what are we doing? We're doing a disservice by trying to eradicate so quickly. We have effectively made ourselves completely void of pressure in today's society. Think about this for a second. We have cushions under our asses when we sit down. I'm sitting on one right now. We have cushions under our feet when we walk and cushions under our heads when we sleep at night. And in doing so, we can no longer handle pressure. We can no longer live with discomfort and we can no longer process pain. Think about this. When was the last time you just sat with your discomfort and pain? Have you ever given it an honest chance to tell you what it means and why it's really still hanging around? Maybe the intention to sit, and what I really want you to make it your intention to sit in your pain, to sit in your feelings, to process and understand that everything you feel is information. It is divinely timed information to level up your body and level up your brain. At the end of the day, you are not in charge. You're not. You don't know your body more than your body, or more than nature for that matter. How arrogant and egotistical is it of us to believe otherwise? Pain is just like an old friend coming back to visit. Don't try and bypass the opportunity to have a conversation with it. Instead, take the time to catch up and hear their story. It takes time to learn how to reconnect with your feelings, pain being one of those feelings, and get back into your body to reignite confidence in your movement and to trust yourself again. This is only accomplished through making tough decisions and following your intuition. Your intuition is really like any other muscle in your body. It can be strengthened with more reps, but the program you must follow isn't a hypertrophy program, my friends. It isn't triphasic. It isn't CrossFit. It isn't French contrast. It isn't high intensity interval training. It's conscious awareness. There is no other coach or provider who knows your body better than you do. And by you, I mean your body and your brain, your nature that you've been growing and evolving with. They can't do the hard work for you. They can't give you your confidence or fix your broken body. The best they can ever do is support you. to guide you, to reframe false narratives and stories that you've been telling yourself, and really provide a safe space for physical and emotional transformation. If you constantly look to other people to validate your biases, to override or mask what your body is trying to tell you, then you are essentially relinquishing authority on your life. How disempowering is that? But that's what we're taught. That's what we must always bow to this authority figure, right? That the medical doctor is all knowing and all powerful. How many of you can actually say that you actually interviewed your medical provider? When was the last time you asked for a detailed explanation of the recommendations, or just take it for at face value, or actually question the source of their knowledge? It's your body and your right to question authority. Hell, I actually encourage all of my clients, my patients, my athletes to question me on a daily basis, to make me explain why I think my suggestions are the best for them in the given moment under this specific context, because all that matters. That's critical thinking. Think about this from a movement perspective or a movement practice perspective. And this has been going on in my brain. It's been the pattern that I've been recognizing over the past couple of decades with utilizing movement and working with athletes. At first, we were told, and actually, you know what, I've been through this myself as my own process of movement discovery, from playing athletics from the age of 4 and moving into all the different disciplines, from bodybuilding, aesthetics, to CrossFit and strongman competitions, powerlifting, and even into calisthenics and gymnastics. And it kind of looks something like this, right? First, we're told that lifting free weights is dangerous, so only use machines. This came about in like the 70s and the 80s. But then, we realized that maybe we should actually teach our body to stabilize load. So we brought back all the barbell squats. But you know what? Don't squat below 90 degrees. Your kneecaps are going to explode. There are plenty of PTs that actually still believe this. It's shocking. And actually, don't lift weights at all, right? No, that's too dangerous. Just do cardio. Right. Swimming, running, and biking is all you're ever going to need. It's low stress. It's great for your body. But oh shit! Now you can't bend over and pick up groceries off the floor without throwing out your back. How many people do you know that actually have done this? Well, then maybe it is good for you to deadlift, but don't ever do it with a rounded spine, because in your discs, they're like jelly donuts. You're just going to squish and squash at the slightest degree of inaccuracy. So bring on the yoga and Pilates. That sounds nice and safe and serene, right? That's the cure for all back pain too. I mean, that's what I've been told a number of times, and wonderful. Now you become much more flexible, and congratulations, but now you look flabby and you want to put on some more muscle and get some muscle back on your bones, build a meat suit up, right? After all, you're going to want to get laid at some point. So what's the best style of movement to get shredded? CrossFit, of course, only CrossFit. Everyone utilizes this functional fitness routine. They're shredded and procrastinating like little bunny rabbits. Plus, it makes you feel like you actually did something in your life. And damn, now all your joints hurt and you can't figure out why you're an asshole to your friends and your families. It can't be the exercise, can it? Nah, the coaches keep telling me that if I want to keep the results, I need to commit to training every single day, even though I feel beat down. And there's really no shame and guilt in that scenario, is it? So let's just add some cryotherapy, some dry needling, breath work, and saunas into the mix. Those are going to help your body recover, and maybe they'll help your mind too. And I think I'm on the right process, right on the right path with that. No, right? Think about this. It's like a roller coaster. The roller coaster ride of injuries, pain, and resentment are all part of the process, aren't they? You can't let go of your strength. Can't let go of your status, or your identity, your community. Damn, it's a bit of a mind fuck, isn't it? And that's why none of that shit matters. Truly. What other people think you should do is not what you think you should do. Be honest with yourself and listen to your fucking intuition, folks. It doesn't lie to you. It's time to gently step off the fucking hamster wheel, my friends. It's time to do something different. It's time to reframe what movement means to you. And I know many are going to say, yeah, well, maybe next month, or I have too much going on right now. Well, do you seriously want to make a change? Are you ready to take messy action? The truth is that many of you are afraid. I've been afraid before too. I'm still afraid on a daily basis, for that matter. You're afraid to step towards your fears, like, what if? All these what ifs. What about all my gains? Or I'm going to lose those. When I'm going to lose my community, am I going to gain a couple of pounds? And then my partner's going to think I'm fat, lazy, and not going to want to sleep with me again? Well, guess what? I've been there. I've had those exact thoughts. I was afraid until I chose to step towards my fear. It was only with that decision that I began to listen to my body. And I watched my body reorganize and recalibrate into the man you see before you today, free of chronic pain, free of narcissism, free of apathy, free of restriction. That's the level of responsibility I've chosen to have in my life. And let me tell you, it is the most freeing feeling in the world to listen to your heart, to be open and ready to receive what your body is telling you. That level of vulnerability is required to release the warrior within all of us, to build resiliency, to trust ourselves again, and to have the confidence to move through life with unapologetic authenticity. In the end, we should turn towards pain and injury instead of running from it. We shouldn't see them as failures. There's so much wisdom that lies within those experiences. Pain is evidence of change and the opportunity for transformation. The victory is in the process, not the outcome. Your confidence in your body and the way it moves comes from the way you show up each and every single day on this earth. Each day you make choices that push you to be better or detract you from your health. Step into your integrity. You don't get to ask for something that you yourself don't put any effort towards. Be courageous when it feels easy to succumb to the struggles of everyday life. Be fearless in your pursuit of exploration. You have the ability to stand up for yourself. You have the ability to trust your body again. You have the power to find balance. You can unleash the warrior that lives within you. That is the process of finding yourself. That is the process of movement discovery. I am Thor.